The ceremonial chains felt heavier than they should have. Orla stood in the grand hall of the Coalition embassy, her silver skin shimmering under the harsh lights, her 4 fingers trembling as she clutched the data slate containing the marriage contract. Around her, the representatives of 7 different species watched with clinical detachment as her fate was sealed. She was a bargaining chip, nothing more. The Velarra had always been the diplomats of the galaxy, their natural empathy and telepathic abilities making them invaluable in negotiations. But those same abilities made them vulnerable. When the war with the Kreshna swarm had devastated her homeworld, the survivors had scattered across Coalition space, seeking protection wherever they could find it. Orla's protection came with a price: marriage to a human. Humans, the galaxy's newest addition and its most terrifying. The species that had emerged from their death world with muscles dense enough to crush bone, reflexes honed by predators that would make a Kreshna warrior flee in terror, and a psychological resilience that bordered on insanity. They didn't just survive their planet, they'd thrived on it, then conquered the stars with a ferocity that made older species nervous. And now, Orla was being given to one of them. Jackson Cole entered the hall and every eye turned to him. He was tall, even by human standards, with broad shoulders and the characteristic build of a Terran who'd grown up in Earth's punishing gravity. His skin was dark, his eyes a warm brown that seemed incongruous with everything Orla had heard about human coldness. He wore simple clothes, no military uniform, no diplomatic regalia, just a plain shirt and pants that somehow made him seem more dangerous, not less. Their eyes met, and Orla felt her telepathic sense brush against his mind instinctively. She recoiled immediately. Human minds were chaos, thoughts moving at impossible speeds, emotions layered in contradictory patterns, memories filed in ways that made no sense to her ordered Velarra perception. It was like touching static electricity. Jackson noticed her flinch. Something flickered across his face, concern maybe, but he said nothing. The ceremony was brief. Words in galactic common about unity and cooperation and the bright future of Coalition species working together. Orla barely heard them. She focused on breathing, on keeping her skin from shifting to the pale blue of fear, on not reaching out telepathically to sense what Jackson was thinking. When it was over, they were married, bound by law across a dozen systems. Jackson's apartment was not what she expected. Orla had imagined something harsh and utilitarian, all metal edges and cold efficiency. Instead, she found herself in a space filled with soft textures and warm colors. There were plants, actual living plants, in pots by the windows. Books lined one wall, their spines worn from use. A blanket was draped over the back of a couch that looked comfortable enough to sink into. "Your room is through there," Jackson said, pointing to a door on the left. "Private lock. The code is whatever you want to set it to. I won't have access." Orla stared at him. "My room." "Yeah." He set down the small bag containing her few possessions. "I figured you'd want your own space. There's a bathroom attached, fully stocked. I wasn't sure what Velarra I needed, so I got a variety of products. If something's missing, just let me know." She continued staring. In Velarra culture, marriage meant sharing everything: space, thoughts, even emotional states through their telepathic bonds. She'd assumed humans would be even more possessive, more demanding. Jackson rubbed the back of his neck, a gesture she'd learned meant he was uncomfortable. "Look, I know this wasn't your choice. Hell, it wasn't really mine either. The Coalition approached me because I'm ex-military with diplomatic clearance. But you're not a prisoner here, Orla. Well, legally you're my wife, but I'd rather we just be roommates who help each other out. Is that okay?" "Why?" The word came out sharper than she intended. "Why would you agree to this if you don't want a wife?" He was quiet for a moment, then moved to the window. Outside, the city sprawled in the twilight, a mix of architectural styles from a dozen different species. 3 years ago, I was stationed on Velarra Prime. Just a brief stopover, but I spent a day in your capital city. I saw the crystal gardens, tried your cuisine, listened to your music. It was the most beautiful place I'd ever seen." His voice softened. "When I heard what happened, what the swarm did, I volunteered for every refugee assistance program I could find. This was just another way to help. And if giving you a safe place to live and legal protection means spending a few years with a roommate, that seems like the least I could do." Orla felt something shift in her chest. She'd been prepared for cruelty or cold indifference or even awkward attempts at romance. She hadn't been prepared for simple, genuine kindness. The weeks that followed established a pattern. Jackson woke early, made coffee, a human stimulant that smelled terrible, and either went to his job at the Coalition Trade Commission or worked from the apartment's small office. He always asked if Orla needed anything before he started his day. He kept the common areas clean without making her feel obligated to match his standards. He cooked dinner most nights and always made sure there were Velari-safe options, even though it meant he sometimes had to prepare 2 separate meals. He never touched her without permission, never entered her room uninvited, never pushed her to talk when she didn't want to. It was unsettling. One evening, about a month into their arrangement, Orla found Jackson on the balcony, staring at the stars. She'd been working on her language studies, learning to read human expressions and idioms, and had finally felt confident enough to seek him out. "Can I join you?" she asked. He turned, surprise evident on his face. "Of course, your balcony too." She settled beside him, careful to maintain a respectful distance. "You're always looking at the stars." "Old habit. I was a navigator in the Space Corps, used to plot jump coordinates by hand as a backup to the computers." He pointed to a cluster of lights. "That's the Andromeda Galaxy. Can't see Velari Prime from here, but it'd be in that direction." "Do you miss it, space travel?" "Sometimes, but this is good too." Quieter, he glanced at her. "Do you miss home?" The question hurt, but she appreciated that he asked. Every day, the way the 3 suns would set and turn everything gold, the singing crystals in the temples, my sister's terrible jokes. Her voice cracked slightly. She didn't make it out. Jackson was quiet for a long moment. Then carefully he said, "I'm sorry, I can't imagine how hard that is." He didn't offer platitudes about time healing or her sister being in a better place. He just acknowledged her pain and sat with her in it. Orla felt her telepathic sense reach out instinctively, expecting to find the same chaotic human mindstorm she'd felt before. But this time she sensed something different. Grief, old and deep, carefully managed but never fully healed. Loneliness. A fierce protective instinct directed at her. "You lost someone too," she said softly. He nodded. "My brother, different war, different enemy, but yeah." He took a breath. "It doesn't get easier exactly, but you learn to carry it, and having someone who understands helps." They stayed on the balcony until the city lights blurred into the dawn. After that night, things changed. Not dramatically. Jackson was still respectful, still careful, but a friendship began to grow in the space between them. Orla started cooking Velari dishes, delighted when Jackson tried everything enthusiastically even when it was clear some flavors were too intense for human taste buds. They watched movies together, arguing good-naturedly about plot holes and character motivations. She taught him basic Velari meditation techniques. He taught her Earth card games. She stopped flinching when their hands accidentally brushed. 6 months into their marriage, Orla received a message from the Velari Council. They were offering her a position in the new coalition government being established for refugee communities. It was everything she'd trained for, everything she'd lost hope of having after the war. There was just one problem. The position was on the other side of coalition space, light years from Jackson's apartment. She found him in his office, reviewing trade reports. When she explained the opportunity, he looked up with genuine excitement. "Orla, that's incredible. You have to take it." "But our marriage contract can be amended or dissolved. I'll contact the Coalition legal office tomorrow. We'll figure it out. He stood, moving around the desk. This is your dream, right? Your chance to help rebuild. Yes, but she stopped, unsure how to voice what she was feeling. I don't want to leave. Jackson froze. You don't. This place, this life we've built. The words came out in a rush. I thought I was being trapped, but instead I found freedom. I thought humans were dangerous, but you've been nothing but kind. I thought this marriage was a cage, but it became home. She watched emotions flicker across his face. Surprise, hope, fear, joy, all layered in that chaotic human way. When he spoke, his voice was gentle. Orla, if you stay, I need you to stay because you want to, not because you feel obligated. I want to stay, she said firmly. Then more quietly, if you want me to. Jackson smiled, and it transformed his entire face. I've wanted you to stay since about a week after you moved in. I just didn't think I had the right to ask. She stepped closer, reaching out with both her telepathic sense and her hand. This time, when she touched his mind, she didn't find chaos. She found warmth, acceptance, and something that felt remarkably like love, messy and complicated and utterly human. He took her hand carefully, reverently. So what do we do now? Orla asked. Well, Jackson said, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her palm, I think we start actually being married, if you want to. I want to, she whispered. And for the first time since the war destroyed her world, Orla felt truly, completely safe.